Hi guys, how you doing? Bushcraft Tools, the axe. Let's talk about the axe today. I've loved axes my whole life, I think. First time I got bit by the axe bug, literally, I was probably about 6 years old. Got bit in the foot pretty good with one of these things, and I've been swinging them ever since. So, I've been camping my whole life, building fires, so, you know, you need an axe. Partially heated my house the last 20 years with the wood, so I've swung one of these a few times. Am I an expert? Heck no, absolutely not. Not an expert. Very much consider myself intermediate in my knowledge base and my skill level for sure. So take what I have to say for what it is. Just my opinion, just my experience. And you know, there's lots of great information out there on YouTube and on the internet about axes. A lot of people with a whole lot more knowledge than I do. So a few of them would be, I guess, Weeder fan, Cal Noseworthy. He knows what he's talking about with axes. Skill Cult, Stephen, he really knows his stuff too. He's a homesteader, okay, and kind of a, I'm going to say an axe nerd. Is that okay? Yeah, he's an axe nerd. He really knows his stuff. He gets down to the minutia of axes and axe form, axe design, and I enjoy listening to him. Wrangler Star, of course, and there's a kind of a new guy. A couple of years ago, he started a channel. Buck and Billy Ray out in BC. That guy can swing an axe like nobody's business. So check those guys out. You'll learn a lot. Okay, here's my axes, and we're going to go through them one by one. And you're going to see some similarities as we go, and that's a good thing for you because it'll show you that there are options out there. There's different price points. Some of these axes I really paid nothing for through trades and wheeling and dealing. Some of them I paid as little as $1 for, and some of them I paid a lot of money for. But there are different ways to get there. And let's go through them, and I'll tell you which ones I like the best and why. So let's get started. Okay, I think what I'll do is just take them out one by one and show them to you. And that might be the best way to go about this. So, this is a Holtzbrook hatchet. It's a vintage head, literally rescued from the dump. A friend of mine found it at the dump. I traded him a couple of folding knives that I wasn't using anymore, and here we are. Now I had to buy a new handle. I had to rehandle this. My friend made me this beautiful mask. Look at that. That mask is just amazing. Look at that bear claw. That's gorgeous. It's a real treasure, I tell you. So anyway, to the axe itself. 1 1/4 pound Holtzbrook vintage head, okay? And I hung it on this 15-inch Holtzbrook handle. Now when you're talking about bushcraft tools, you know, you're talking about things that are portable many times. And this is very portable. Very portable. It will fit in just about any pack. You could even wear it on your belt if you wanted. Great for small work. Great for making kindling. You can even make shavings with this. You could take down a small tree, okay, if you had to. And I just love these vintage Holtzbrook's heads. They're gorgeous, well made. They really hold an edge. The profile there. Okay. That's my little hatchet. Holtzbrook. So probably my most used bushcraft axe is this, the Grants Forest Brook Small Forest Axe. It's my most used because it's just a really great size. Fits in most packs, or it certainly will strap to the outside of almost any pack. Doesn't weigh a whole lot, and it can be used with 2 hands, easily with one hand, and you can get a lot of work done with this. It's really great for crafting in the woods. It's great for collecting firewood. You can split with this. Now, you're not going to be splitting, 12-inch rounds with anything like this, but something reasonable. Splits very well with the Grants Force Brooks. Now, the quality of the Grants Force is probably the best out there for production axes, I just got to say. Okay, they are made in Sweden. When you get one, the grind will be excellent. It will be very sharp when you get it. You don't have to worry about the hang job on them. Hanging is going to be perfect. Grain orientation will be awesome on all of these. They feel great in your hand. And they're very slicey. You look at the bit. Look at the bit on that. Very thin. Cuts deep. And you can do a lot of work with this. I'm going to say it's the best pack axe out there, in my opinion. But they're not cheap, They're not cheap. They are about, I'm going to say about $180 in Canada. So, that's a fair bit of money. So you might be looking for an alternative. I might have one for you. So part of the beauty of the small forest axe is really the handle and the length, and how comfortable it is, and how comfortable it is to use in different portions of the handle. Okay, so if you have a smaller axe head lying around the house that you're not using, or perhaps a hatchet that you don't really care for that much, perhaps what you could do is get a small forest axe handle and rehang that head. That's what I did with this. This is a Husqvarna hatchet head, and it was hung on a 15-inch handle. I just felt it didn't work right for me, so I bought a small forest axe handle and I hung it, and it worked out beautifully. Fit perfect. See the mushrooming on that? Fit perfect. So now it's something that I really enjoy using, and I do use it still quite a bit, even though I have the Grants Force small forest axe. The bit is a little thicker, so it's going to split a little bit better, but something this size, you're not using for splitting much anyway. It is what it is. It's a nice little pack axe. Okay, there's an option. This is about 180 bucks. This handle is about $50. If you can find a appropriate head at a flea market or the yard sale for a couple bucks, you can have a pretty cheap pack axe. Just an option for you. Okay, still with Grants Force Brooks, the Swedish forest axe. Okay, it's about I think it's about a 25-inch handle. Okay, a little bit heavier head, so you can get a lot more head speed, and a little more capable than the small forest axe. If you're to buy just one axe, I'd recommend this one here. You can really do a lot of work with this. It's not much heavier than the small forest axe, but it can do quite a bit more. Okay, still very slicey in the head profile. Grinds are perfect again. Razor sharp, razor sharp. Interesting to note, Grants Force does not use metal wedges anymore on their smaller axes, at least. So, none on this one. Haven't had any troubles with it, so must be okay. So, Grants Force Brooks Swedish forest axe. In winter time, it's a good one to bring because you're processing a little more firewood, especially if you're pulling a pulk or using some other means of transport. So I'd recommend this one highly, especially if you're only going to buy one axe. Maybe this one is the one for you. Okay, so now up top here I have the Husqvarna all-purpose axe, I believe they call it. Husqvarna all-purpose axe. Does it look familiar? Yeah, it's about the same size as the Gränsfors Brooks Swedish Forest Axe. This is about $180, $190. I think this one was about $90. Okay? This is a little bit heavier than the Gränsfors. This comes in at about 3 pounds. This is about 2.5 pounds, 2 pounds 9 ounces. So if you're packing, I would pack this one. If weight isn't such an issue, this one will do fine. Now, Husqvarna make excellent axes. I think Hultafors actually forges their steel for them. But anyway, there's the nice Husqvarna logo, nice and deep. Love that. Now, one thing you may have to be prepared to do when you get your Husqvarna axe is do a little bit of work on it. When I got this, the grind was the worst of any axe I'd ever seen in my life. In fact, one side was only ground halfway. I had to spend hours to get this to where it is now, which is pretty decent. But if you're willing to do a little bit of work, you can save an easy $100. A little bit thicker head profile, okay, but this thing cuts really well. Excellent handle. One thing I don't care for too much is the handle is a little bit beefy. I wish it was a little bit thinner, but it isn't. So you could remedy that. You could thin this out, or you could just get used to it. I decided just to get used to it. Great little axe. I love this one. Again, hung very well. Best deal out there. If you only want to spend $100 or less than $100, these Husqvarna all-purpose axes are a great option. So here's a couple of axes I really love. They're vintage Holtzbrook axes. Right here is a 2¼ pound on the original handle. It's probably a 21 or 22 inch handle. Here's a 2½ pound vintage Holtz. Love these. It's probably on a 25 inch handle or so. Ended up getting these for nothing. Really nothing. My wife picked them up for me at a yard sale. So when you go to yard sales, ask about axes. You never know. They may have something that they don't want anymore, and they love to sell to you for a couple bucks. I didn't even have to rehandle these. That's just the way they came. I touched up the edge, of course, but I love these. So I need to get some masks made for these so I can take them with me out in the woods. But I do use them around the house. Vintage, it's a great way to go, guys. So here's some more vintage Holtzbrook love here. HB, 3 pounder, okay? And I rescued this from someone's garage. Sharpened her up, put a nice edge on it. I think that's a 27 inch handle. Seems to be a perfect match for a 3 pound head. I like this one as well. Rehung this one myself. Pretty happy with the way it all turned out. So I got to tell you, vintage is a great way to go. You're going to learn more about axes, hanging them yourself, finding them yourself, reprofiling them, because many times when you get them, they're in pretty rough shape. So it takes a bit of work to get them back in working order. But when you do, you'll be really happy with them. Vintage. Another vintage head. This was a yard sale find. He didn't have it out for sale. I asked, do you have any axes? And he said, yeah, I have one in the garage. And it was rough when I got it, but it turned out really good. Rehung it. Really happy with the way everything turned out. Hung that on a 36-inch hickory handle. Nice and slim. Feels really good in the hand. It's a 3.5 pound head. I don't know who made it. It's marked DT on the top. That's the only marking that's on it. DT. So, I don't know, it could be local. But there's an example of finding a head for $1. I think I paid about $15 for the handle. You got a really good axe for around the house. For less than 20 bucks. Can't beat it. So, more vintage axes here. This is from Canada, Lion brand. Can you read that? So, Lion brand was made by Welland Vale, just down the road from me, near Niagara Falls. So I found this at a yard sale for $1 again. Okay, nice vintage head. Good splitter. Really happy I put the extra work into this, and love it. Vintage for $1. So less than 20 bucks. It's the same handle I hung on the other one, a $15 handle. Looks gorgeous. That fire feels good. So there you go, guys. There's my axes. There's two ways to go about it. You can go vintage or you can go brand new. Vintage is a lot of fun. You're going to learn a lot about axes, how to look after them, how to rehang an axe maybe. You certainly can't go wrong with buying a brand new high quality tool. So choose which one is best for you. So thanks very much for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed what you saw today. If you're just starting out and you don't have an axe yet, I encourage you to get one. And if you do, learn how to use it safely. Okay, it's very important to use them safely. They're a very dangerous tool. They are a lot of fun to use, but they are very dangerous. If you're already a subscriber, thanks again for stopping by. If you're not a subscriber yet, please do. Click on the little bell notification and you'll be notified of any future uploads that I do in the future. Thanks for stopping by, and I do appreciate the time that you spend with me. Take care.